Hi there. Welcome back to Leading from the Middle, where I am connecting with 23 different leaders this year. I'm super excited to learn a little bit about what they believe companies can do to transform their middle managers into their most valuable asset. So I'm Helen Young-McLaughlin, and today I'm excited to introduce you to Elizabeth Overstreet. Elizabeth is not only an entrepreneur, but she also has extensive background in HR, operations, sales. I'm wondering what she hasn't done yet, but maybe we'll find that out. And she's worked with lots of different organizations and some Fortune 500 companies as well. So welcome, Elizabeth. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you. I really appreciate the invitation, Helen. I was so excited to talk about this topic because a passion that's close to me is developing people to their highest potential. So when you told me about this opportunity to really tap into the value of middle management and how they can help large corporations and small corporations and businesses in general succeed faster and accelerate where they want to go, I was super excited. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, Elizabeth, can you kind of give us a few highlights about some of the experiences you've had in your career that speaks to what we're talking about today?
Yeah, so you talked about my career path, and it is pretty interesting. I've been fortunate enough to sit in different corners of corporations, from HR to operations, marketing, and sales. And so it's given me kind of an extensive understanding of how like all the pieces connect together. But I would say, like, in talking just about the power of like your middle management team, is that they sit in a unique position, because a lot of times leadership definitely has specific goals they're trying to push down, across the organization to accelerate that growth and direction of the organization. But sometimes the message gets lost, right? Somewhere in the middle, ironically.
Yes.
So if you're able to tap into that group of people and understand like where your high potentials are and teaching them, what you're trying to like pull through, like almost threading the needle,
Hmm.
that business moves so much faster because sometimes they're getting information a lot quicker than people at the top are. So like while you're at the top, you understand what's happening and you're getting information from a different lens. They're often closer to the customers, internal. And when I say customers, I mean customers that they're customer facing with, but also customers within the organization. And they have a pulse that really could be tapped in to help, create that stronger connection with leadership.
Absolutely. And this actually is a perfect segue, what you're talking about, into the question that I'm asking everybody. So the one question I'm asking each person I'm connecting with is, what is one thing companies must pay attention to when it comes to developing their mid-level managers?
Wow. I
It's hard to
think
pick one.
I know, like my mind just went a bunch of places, so you know me well. But I think one thing that's super important is like the collaboration piece. You can have like the best talent, you can have the best, product, but if there's not good collaboration across the organization and people don't see the value of that collaboration, you have siloed organizations, you have limited growth, you can move forward, then you're moving backwards. So when I look like at my experiences of like being in leadership roles and interim leadership roles and even being on the side of non-leadership roles, the collaboration piece is really, I think, where a lot of organizations get stuck.
So one thing I talk about in my program, I have a program called the Leverage Academy where I bring managers together. And this ties directly into results through relationships. When I hear you say collaboration, one of the things I emphasize is results through relationships. This can be tricky. So help me and help those who are listening learn a little bit about when we're individual contributors, sometimes we are siloed. Sometimes we are focused on what we need to do. We are building maybe our footprint in the workplace, and it's a hard shift from that individual contributor space into the management space. So, how do you the collaboration part?
Yeah, so one thing that always comes to mind is like most organizations can identify their high potentials or those people that consistently have success. But it's usually a small segment. It's usually like 20 to 30% if you're
Hmm.
fortunate. So
Yeah.
why my thought process is like, why always rely on that 20 to 30%? They're gonna burn out, there's gonna be attrition. It's gonna be tough for them to maintain that momentum. So when I talk to people about the power of collaboration, is really sharing like the risk and the accountability and the ability to move that business forward quicker. So when there's collaboration, to your point, in relationship building, you're hearing things that are happening, but because you're collaborating, you're not trying to catch up with the things that are happening. So oftentimes there's people who are high performers who are doing a lot of great things, and people hear about it and then they try to duplicate it. But if that collaboration was there, it would be a catch up across that
Right.
ecosystem of the organization. It would be happening more in real time. So yeah, you could go at things, but by yourself and do really well. But I think the collaboration piece and the relationship piece is about like, how do we build this together? What are the benefits of it? And how does it keep us all from burning out too? Because we're in an
Hmm.
environment where people are hypersensitive about work-life balance, about like being in environments where they feel like they can still achieve, but also have outlets. So I think when you kind of tie it to the bigger picture of understanding your team, what drives them, and then the power of that collaboration to help people still stay connected to who they are, because we all want to be people outside of our jobs. Our jobs are
Right.
representative of us, but not totally of us. I think there's just so much.
Absolutely. And I wonder, one of the things I hear frequently from my clients is, oh my gosh, I don't feel alone, especially when we're in this group collaborative space, which is what I refer to it as. Um, that's a common theme that I hear. So it shows exactly what you're talking about. When we can share with other people, when we understand, like, oh, you're going through something similar, and then we can share ideas. We're not sitting there sharing like all of our woes, although that may be part of it, to have some empathy and understanding for what that person might be going through. But I think it's this power of being able to make those connections. And how do we do it? A, hybrid work. B, super busy, right? Where people are struggling with their own personal stuff as well as, sometimes workload issues. So it's easy to get sucked into, let me just keep my head down and get my task done versus expand out. Is there a question that companies could like ask themselves to really just stop and think about how to collaborate?
Yeah, I think engagement surveys are super powerful for organizations if used the right way. So I
Yeah.
think using forums that allow for some anonymity and people being able to be transparent about how they feel to report back how they're feeling about working together, what they see as the vision of the organization, and then really holding people accountable to those metrics. So what that means is tying it into like what people is part of their responsibility, right? If they don't have impact on those metrics of engagement, or if their engagement scores are low, that part of the business is looked at and that there's action plans, right, put in place to help those businesses. But I think engagement surveys are often not always used the right
Used
way.
in the
They're good,
way. Yes, I
employees
know
are like,
what you
yes, it's
mean.
coming again, which is why there's low investment. But I think like, one thing I've seen to be very powerful is when an organization shares an engagement score example, not the best one, but like the worst one or one that was in
Right.
the middle, and then how they worked and how the collaboration shifted for them and how it impacted, that particular team. So I think
Hmm.
that again, like that would help to kind of give the organization a baseline of where people are at and where they need to go. And if everyone's, on the same page. And I think I'm just fortunate in that I've been able to work in these different areas of the business. So it's like I see how they all connect. We all need each other in an organization. Everyone's doing something that affects someone else. So to your point, the more you can communicate and really get the middle management side of it engaged in that process too, you're able to drive down your initiatives a lot easier and quicker.
Well, and I think your lens too really speaks to, you've had these different opportunities to look at something from an operational standpoint, from a HR standpoint. And I think that can tie into companies giving managers these opportunities to see different aspects of the business so that they can be more collaborative, right? Because
Yeah.
what we know happens, unfortunately, this is a pet peeve of mine. I'm just going to say it real loud and clear, is managers are put into positions, great individual contributor. Hey, want you to be a manager. Go ahead. And they don't really have any support. They're not being given the guidance. This is not everyone, but this is often. This is what I base my business off of. 20 some odd years in the corporate world, seeing this over and over again. And so I think one of the things that I'm loving and taking away from what you're saying is, hey, one, we need to develop those managers because it's not the same set of skills. But two, let's ensure that we ask ourselves who they can collaborate with to A, get mentored, to B, have a different lens, have an understanding so that they see the bigger picture, right? It's
I
not
love
just about, okay, here are all my tasks that need to get done. It is, let's look at the bigger picture, because I think this comes full circle and I get all excited about it, which is
I can
if we
tell.
can see the bigger picture, we can then help the people that we are managing understand the why
Absolutely.
and
Like I,
collaborate,
yeah.
right? So if we're collaborating, we're seeing the big picture, we can then communicate that down to our team. They understand the why. And I think that that builds relationships and it builds results both at the same time.
Totally. I mean, and just, to add to what you're saying, like I think great ways to do that are to have them have mentors, to have them have sponsors, have them attend skip level meetings where they're meeting at a higher level than what their actual level is, because it gives them another perspective in the organization. And it was something you said, like when I think about the leaders who've been most impactful to me and who influenced me, it was their ability to elevate others in the room, and not just in the room of their team, but outside of that room, and to give them insights into what was happening beyond their day to day. And so it gave that person almost, for me, it gave me like this sense of responsibility that like I didn't want to let them down.
Right,
I was like, I
right.
want to be informed. So you started being more curious outside of just your
Mhm.
world. So it wasn't like they rose and they forgot about the people that
Right,
they had led before. Constantly were like elevating those people. So you almost saw those people following them or
right.
going to other positions, which was a real, to me, strong sign of like their leadership acumen or strength. So
Well, this makes me think, like, when you think back to those people you were just describing and you did not think, oh, I loved how they got everything off the task list, right?
mhm.
Because that's what a lot of managers are getting consumed with. I've got so much to do. What you thought about, at least what I'm hearing, is they took the opportunity to get you in the right meetings. They took
Mhm.
the opportunity and got curious and helped you develop. They took the opportunity to, what else would you add?
I would just say like they taught me to think beyond myself, to
Mhm.
think with a team lens, to
Yes.
think with a big picture lens, to think of doing things that I didn't always have the ability or acumen
Mhm.
yet to do, but to develop that acumen,
And they
which made me,
trusted that you could do it.
they trusted that. And I think, and when they endeared that, when you endear that trust to someone to push someone to do something out of their comfort zone, if you are a dedicated person, which most people are that are
Yeah.
trying to manage or lead, you are going to push yourself to do it. Right. So it's
Mhm.
almost like it's a win-win. So I feel like they get elevated by that. And then you're also being elevated and you're elevating others around you. So those things to me were just, they're powerful reminders of the
Oh,
leaders
I
that
love
really,
that. Powerful reminders. And so
mhm.
that's going to take me to pulling all of this together. I could continue to talk to you for a long time, Elizabeth, but we're going to be time sensitive here. So powerful reminder is collaboration is something that you are absolutely highlighting that companies need to pay attention to when it comes to developing their managers. And it is what I heard is the power of the relationships really is so it's probably something I think that we don't think about enough. And let's put that front and center for today. Is there anything else you would add? We've talked about so many amazing things, but the one thing it sounds like if companies could do is that collaboration, that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and I would add to like collaboration, like there's a lot of change management going on for lots of different reasons in a lot of
Yeah.
industries. And I think it's going to keep happening. That's the nature of business. Business is always evolving and changing. And it's not, I think people don't always like change, but I think often deeper than that is how the change occurs. So it's super important to understand your audience, which is where the collaboration piece comes in, because you would have a lens on how people respond to things. So when you are communicating those changes, you can think and be more strategic about how you do it so that it doesn't completely interrupt or devastate your business.
Yeah, that's such a great message. Thank you so much for pointing that out because there is a lot of change going on right now. I'm talking to many different clients that are experiencing that. So I'm so glad you brought that up. Elizabeth, if people want to connect with you on social media or website, where can they reach you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so people want to learn more about me. I have a website, elizabethoverstreet.com. I focus on relationship coaching. So that's probably why you hear a thread of relationships. And while I do some more on the romantic side, I do also speak with corporations and businesses about relationships and how they can help foster stronger, relationships amongst their team members and deal with conflict and things of that nature too.
Well, I'm sure it's what's made you so successful in all the roles that you've been in too, is paying attention to the relationship. Thank you so much for being here today. And just a quick message that this is so important to me and brings such value to me to be able to have these conversations and for people taking time out. And I'm also doing a give back to a local organization called the Hospice of the Chesapeake. And I'll be donating $2,023 at the end of this series. And I can't think of a better group right now to receive this gift and take care of those who are taking care of other people. And especially in the spirit of burnout and all that's going on, we need support. So reach out if you need anything from me. And thank you so much again, Elizabeth, for being here today.
Thank you for having me on, Helen. It's been great.
Thank you so much for joining us and tuning in to another interview of Leading from the Middle. I'm really looking forward to hearing some feedback from you. I want to connect with you. You can connect with me directly on LinkedIn at Helen Young-McLaughlin. Just hit that hyphen in between Young and McLaughlin, or you can go to my website at helenyoungcoaching.com. Thanks again and have a great day.